Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Yana. I'm one of the registered nurses. I do create the nursing content on my channel for the purpose of sharing my experience and maybe providing a little bit of education while I'm learning myself. So I'm finishing this year my grad year. It's finishing I think somewhere the end of April, so it's been so fast. It feels like I just started like yesterday and it's been nearly a year. So yeah, so like I share my knowledge and I share my experience with you guys on my channel because I know I have a lot of students here who are either starting nursing now or studying already in the process of studying or maybe thinking about doing nurses. So I hope my content is helpful for you guys. And today was my first shift since I came back from Bali. I went to Bali for 10 days. It was an amazing trip. I really enjoyed it. That was my first trip since the COVID hit, so it's been like 5 years no travel you know, and Bali was my first also trip there. I've never been to Bali, so it was absolutely amazing experience. And today was my first shift to come back to work, and it's Monday. It was super hectic. It was a morning shift, you know, super busy, but I don't mind because I'm happy to go back again to my working routine. And yeah, so today I thought I will make kind of like a recap video where I'm gonna share with you something that I have experienced doing during my shift, because I think my knowledge can help you, and also if I share it with you and I kind of go over it in my head again, I will memorize it better for myself. Because as I said, I'm still a grad registered nurse, and I'm still in the process of learning. So today I was given an iron infusion to one of my patients, and funny enough, like if you've been watching me for some time, I remember when I was still a nursing student, I have recorded a video about me having an iron infusion because my iron levels were low, and I went to one of the clinical centers here and they've done it for me. And now like I'm giving iron infusions to my patients, which is super cool. I mean, like life is going so fast, you know. I went from student to registered nurse quite fast. But anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about iron infusion because I think it's one of the infusions that many new nurses struggle with, and also scared to give, because iron can stay in the skin, you know. Iron is nearly as close as to blood infusions, something that you need to watch out, you know, like monitor and like keeping a close eye to while you're giving it to the patient. So a lot of new nurses kind of like freaking out in the beginning when they're starting to give this type of infusions, until they kind of feel confident and more relaxed, you know, doing it. So today wasn't my first one, but every time now giving iron infusion, I feel more and more confident. So I feel like today I am more confident to talk about it and give you more information, which would be more correct if I would share it like a few months ago, for example. Okay, so I want to share with you things to look out for, something to pay attention to and not to forget. Okay, so usually before infusion happens, the treating team, one of the doctors from the treating team will come to you, to the nurse who is looking after the patient, and they will tell you that, okay, the patient's iron level are low, so we're thinking about charting him an iron infusion. Okay, so they will first verbally tell you, and also they will speak to the patient before that as well, let them know that they need to have an iron infusion and they will need to sign a consent. So you don't sign the consent with them, it's the job of the doctors. Doctors do the consent form with the patient, making sure that they sign it. All what you need to do as a nurse before giving iron infusion, you need to make sure that the consent is there and it's freshly signed. It's not like a year ago signed. It's if you're giving it today, let's say, usually it would be discussion happening in the morning between the team and the patient, telling the patient that they're gonna have an infusion. So the consent is gonna be signed either today or like yesterday night, for example, because usually in my ward we don't want to give iron infusions late on evening shifts. We prefer to give it in the morning and during the daytime. Okay, so before giving it, make sure that the patient has a consent form. Okay, Then in most of the times, team themselves, they will educate the patient why they have an iron, what side effects to expect, you know, and just a little bit about the procedure. They'll tell them how long the procedure goes for, you know, and things like that. So they will usually educate the patient. But if that didn't happen, and for some reason maybe the team was busy or whatever, you can provide an education for the patient. And if you don't know how to provide an education for the patient, usually on my ward, what we have, the iron itself, the product itself, medication comes in a plastic container. And in that plastic container, you have policies and procedures that you as a nurse has to follow when you're given this infusion. So they tell you how often to do the OBS, what side effects to look for, and all of that. And also it has a printout. It's like 3 to 4 sheets that you can either go by yourself through and just educate verbally the patient, or you can give it to the patient. Usually that printout is to be given to the patient so they could read about it, okay? But it's very simple things. Your patients don't require a lot of details. It's easy enough to just tell them that the iron levels are low, the doctors want them to have an iron infusion so they could feel better. You know, just tell them that these are the common side effects. You might have it, might not, everyone is different, and just tell them that the duration of the iron infusion might be from half an hour to 2 hours, okay? Simple things like that. Just let them know that if they have any symptoms that you described them about, just press the buzzer, okay? Otherwise you will be just near them, monitoring them through the infusion, okay? Then before giving the infusion itself, so you've checked the consent, you know, you made sure that the patient was educated, you're going through your order, just making sure that the order is correct. It has a current date, it has a dose, how much of iron you're gonna give, it has a rate that is going to be running at, it has a proper name of the iron, it has a signature of the doctor, and it also has a full order that it says that for the first 15 minutes, let's say it goes for 40 mils an hour, and then for the remaining time, if the patient is tolerating the infusion well during the 15 minutes, we're changing the rate to, let's say, 120 or 250. So make sure that the order is complete. It's all completed, okay? As you would do with any medication, making sure that the order is completed. You're checking all your 7 rights and all of that. Okay, then you need to make sure that the patient has a cannula, okay? Or if the patient has an existing cannula already, that cannula shouldn't be anywhere to your folding part of your arm, okay? Why? Because iron stains, and the stains may stay permanent, okay? Most of the time they do stay permanent, okay? You don't want an iron tattoo on your body, nobody wants. So this part here, if the cannula is inserted just in the vein here where your arm is bending, you know, there is a possibility that the person is gonna be using this arm, for example, for eating, for moving things, you know, and by bending his arm, they may dislodge the cannula inside the vein, which may cause leakage to the tissue of the iron, and you don't want that to happen because the stain might be really big, okay? It just spreads really quickly, especially if the rate is increased from 40 to 250 and you're on that part of your infusion when the rate is up, okay? So you don't want that to happen. So just make sure to check the cannula, okay? If the person doesn't have a cannula, if you are a nurse who has a competency to cannulate a patient, make sure to insert the cannula in. If you don't have a competency to cannulate patients, then make sure that someone on the ward does it and find a nurse who can do it. If everyone's busy and you don't have any nurse who can cannulate, which is usually impossible, usually there is someone who will cannulate and will find time to do it, then you can contact a treating team, one of the residents. Do not go for reg, the residents, one of the junior doctors, you know, the residents, and tell them that the patient actually needs a cannula. For today, I had a male patient. He was a young patient, 20 years old, so I did not even need to actually find any nurse to cannulate him because I don't have a competency of cannulation yet. I will need to do it soon. But one of the residents from the treating team who is looking after this patient, he just came and done the cannulation all by himself. I didn't even need to ask. He educated the patient as well, so that was super nice of him. And the cannula was inserted because my patient did not have cannula at all. He was just on oral medication. Okay, so yeah, so usually the cannulas for iron infusion anywhere down here or here. Okay, so my patient had it just here. Okay, this is where was his cannula, so it's away from the folding kind of part of your arm, so it was safe enough to insert it there. Then, okay, once you also have an order, you will need to order the actual iron product from the pharmacy. Okay, on my ward, I work in a general medicine ward in a public hospital for Queensland Health. We always have a pharmacist, I think until 4 o'clock. We have a pharmacist on a ward until 4 o'clock, always there. So what we do, if it's a morning shift, you know, I just go to the pharmacist, I show the order and I ask them to order iron for me. Once the iron is on a ward, usually the pharmacist will find you, you know, and give it to you. They're really nice by doing this, you know, so it's pretty comfortable. So you order your iron. If you're working in a different type of hospitals and your rules are different in terms of ordering medications, you might maybe call the pharmacy downstairs and then send the wardie. I don't know how your process is, but on evenings, for example, I don't have a pharmacy or pharmacist on the ward. We call the pharmacy downstairs and send the wardie to bring us the medication, okay? But everywhere is different. But make sure that you order iron, because usually iron is not something that you will store all the time on a ward in a press stock, okay? As other medications are stored usually in a drug room, okay? This one needs to be actually ordered, same as blood. Okay, so make sure you order it. Okay, so you've checked the consent form, you've educated the patient, you make sure that the cannula is there and it's in the right safe spot. You've ordered your medication, okay? After that, okay, speak to your patient as well and ask, did they have iron infusion before? Sometimes they would tell you, yes, I did. So if they have had it before, ask them if they had any side effects. Most common side effects for iron infusion would be vomiting, nausea, headaches, diarrhea, but this one is not very common, you know, but those three are very common, okay? So my patient, for example, said that he only had headache. He had 3 infusions in the past because due to his condition, low iron levels are pretty common. So he had it 3 times before. Today was his 4th one. And the only side effect that he had was a headache. So right away, to me, it's a signal to look at PRN section of his medication chart and also check if he is on, for example, Panadol as a regular medication. Also, sometimes people might get febrile if they have an iron infusion. The temperature might go up, but it's mostly like for blood infusions. But some people may develop fever, okay? So Panadol generally will work well for headache and for fever, okay? So first thing I would check his med chart. He's not on regular Panadol, cool. I'm gonna go to the PRN section and make sure that the Panadol is charted there. My patient was a new patient to the ward. He did not have any PRNs at all. So right away after I saw that the iron order is charted in a fluid order chart, you know, but there are no PRNs, I went to the doctor and I asked them to chart PRN Panadol in case if my patient will develop any fever or headache. And he said to me that he did not have any nausea in a previous during the previous infusions, but just infusion from infusion might be different, you know. So I just asked the doctor to chart antiemetics as well, like ondansetron or metoclopramide, something that can help him if he feel like he wants to vomit, you know, if he has nausea. So check that as well, because Usually we encourage patients, if they start to develop a symptom in terms of pain, for example, we don't want to wait until the pain escalates to level 5 out of 10 or 6. We always educate them and ask them that if you're starting to feel pain, let us know as soon as possible so it won't grow up, you know. So in this case, you want to have your PRN order ready. You don't have to chase the doctors, you know, you don't have to wait until the doctor come and do it, and then while you're waiting, the pain is going up and making your patient feel more uncomfortable, okay? So just make sure that all of this is ready, and it's really simply to be done, okay? So then, okay, when you give in your iron infusion, okay, of course you've done all your checks with the second nurse. I'm not going to go into details about that, because any IV would need a second check. While you're prepping the medication, your second nurse has to be with you, obviously, and then you go into the bedside and you're doing your bedside check as well, okay? Just before giving the iron infusion itself, remember always to flush the cannula, okay? So even if it's a freshly installed cannula like 10 minutes ago and the doctor has flushed it, I always flush it as well, just to make sure, because people move, people, you know, like touch things, he might dislodge the cannula, you know, or whatever can happen, you never know, okay? So swipe with the alcohol wipe the port of the cannula, flush it, you know, ask the patient if they feel okay while you're flushing, if there is no any like unusual sensation or discomfort around the cannula site. Check the cannula site itself, if it's not red, if it looks intact, the skin is nice, you know, not inflamed or anything like that. The patient tells you that during the flush he feels good, okay? After that, you can connect your iron infusion, okay? So one thing before, it's my cat scratching my door trying to get into this room. Also, I forgot to mention, before you connect the iron infusion, okay, you will need to do a baseline of OBS, okay? So this will be your baseline to kind of like go off from during the time of infusion, to notice any changes in OBS, okay? So before the infusion starts to run, like you can connect it to the purse or whatever, but you're not starting to run it yet. Just do a set of observations. So that means your vital signs, you checking the blood pressure, respiration, sets, temperature, heart rate, and blood pressure, you know, making sure that the person is fine. If the person is febrile, usually we don't go by giving the infusions, you know, unless it's an exception and you spoke to the team and they're happy for you to actually give it still, you know, but most of the time people are fine, the OBS are fine, okay? So I've done the baseline OBS on my patient, then I have connected the infusion, okay? The protocol for infusion, when you're running the first 40 mils per hour for 15 minutes, you need to do your observations, okay, every 5 minutes. So you've done your baseline, you started the infusion, after 5 minutes you do another set of OBS. During this 15 minutes you have to stay with your patient and literally eyeballing him by watching the side, making sure that it's not leaking, you know, it's staying intact and patent, and the patient is feeling fine, you know, because you don't want that area to be stained for whatever reason, okay? So you're just staying with the patient, and I usually tell them that, look, I'm gonna stay with you for 15 minutes, you know, so I will be watching your cannula site, and I tell them why, so they won't be feeling uncomfortable, because nobody likes to be watched or anything like that. I usually bring a chair and I sit near to bedside, you know, and I just like keep my eye on it, and I might just sit like read something or talk to the patient or whatever, okay? So, and then you do it every 5 minutes, 3 times for 15 minutes, okay, keeping your eye on a cannula. After that, if the patient is fine, the OBS are stable, no changes or abnormalities are there, the patient is not complaining of anything, you know, you will increase the rate as per chart to whatever rate they want you to increase to. For my patient, we went from 40 to 250 for the remaining dose of iron that left to be given, okay? So you're still going from the same pack. Usually you mix in, I needed my dose, it was 1100 milligrams in 250 mils of normal saline, okay? So I've increased the rate to 250, and then from there you're doing 30 minutes obs. Okay, so you're doing 30 minutes obs until the infusion is over, and then you're doing 30 minutes obs an hour post the infusion. Once it's finished, you know, you've done your flush and everything, then you will need to do 2 more sets of obs, which means every 30 minutes in 1 hour. Okay, somewhere through a bit more than a half of my infusion, the patient said to me that he's starting to feel a little bit of headache. The obs were still fine, he wasn't febrile or anything like that, just a little bit of headache. So I gave him Panadol right away, and after about 20 minutes he was settled. The whole infusion takes in about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the rate that they want to increase it to. And during that half an hour, if you need to give a medication to different patients in the room, it's okay. You don't have to like sit anymore beside your patient all the time. You know, you can just give medication to the rest of your patients. You can do obs to the rest of the patients because they're all in one room. So you still kind of like keep an eye on your patient who has an iron infusion, you know. And then once you've done your iron infusion, do a flush. I usually run another 30 mils of normal saline to just flush all that iron in a line to my patient, because usually it's about 30 mils in the line itself, so not to waste any product. And then just ask and monitor your patient an hour after infusion, see how they're going, if they're still feeling okay, if they don't have any nausea, you know, if the headache has been resolved, you know, and things like that. So, and then also while you're doing all your obs and stuff, in my ward we do have an iron infusion observation chart. So it's pretty much you ticking the boxes there how the patient was feeling, if there is any abnormalities, if the consent form been seen and signed, you know, and so you're ticking the boxes there. And then you also put in the time of your obs in the boxes down below. It's like an Excel kind of tab, and you put in the time of the obs, and then you just need to tick whether his obs were normal or abnormal. If you tick in abnormal, then in the comment section you just write in like what was abnormal, what action you took. My patient was fine, he wasn't abnormal or anything like that, so it was okay. And then in the end of your shift, when you're doing your progress note, just mention that the patient had an iron infusion and he didn't have any complications. Or let's say if the patient had a bit of headache, what have you done? You've been given PRN Panadol to the patient and with the good effect, let's say. Okay, so that would be your progress note. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. Iron infusions, they're not too complicated once you get your head around it. It only looks complicated when you just start giving them, because it's something, I don't know, people just feel about it a little bit scared because it's very close to blood infusion, you know, and because it can stay in the skin, people feel a little bit scared about that as well, because you don't want to stain anyone. you want to be extra safe and stuff like that. But once you start to practice more and more and you remain safe and you like follow all the safe procedures and all of that, it's not a big of a deal, you know, you're getting in a groove of it and it becomes more and more comfortable for you to do it. Okay, so I've done about, I think 4 or 5 iron infusions on my own now, and in the beginning I was just following people and watching how they do it, you know, but now I do it as a primary nurse to my patient, like I'm a part of the process. I don't just call for my primary patient another nurse, another 2 nurses to do it, you know, or I will be a second check, but the second nurse will be doing the whole thing. So now I'm actually leading and I'm just having the second person just to check, but I'm doing everything else by myself, you know, so I feel more and more comfortable and confident doing it. So yeah, I wanted to share with you guys, if you follow these steps you should be fine. If you're feeling like you kind of lost, as I said, on my ward we have the whole package of iron infusion coming with all the printouts for the patient and for the nurse, with all the procedures and protocols to follow. If you're working in a different hospital and a different ward where you don't have this kind of process, you know, there is always online portals for clinicians where you can print out your protocol, local protocols for your ward where you work, for iron infusion, for blood infusion and any other procedures that you're not sure about how to do it. You know, you can always print it out and literally follow off from the print. Do not be shy to ask for help and say that, look, I am not feeling confident yet, you know, can you please lead me while I'm with you doing it, you know, just make sure that I'm safe and I'm doing things correctly. You know, there are no nurses in this world who will say to you no, especially if you are paired with someone and you're working as a team, because in the end of the day you're working together. Okay, so don't feel shy to ask for help, you know, and admit and say that, look, I'm not feeling comfortable or confident just yet, can you please help me out, you know, until I become better. And yeah, as I said, like, I've been there, everyone were helping me to the point where now I can do it myself with second nurse to do a check for me only. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful for you. I feel like my brain can't function anymore now, like it's super overloaded. I had a pretty busy shift today and I have so many things to do. I have so much of washing to do since I came back from Bali, and we came back to 3 days of rain. Like, we left when it was rain, we came back when it was rain. In Bali it was rain. I feel like I've been like in a season of rains. So only today is the first day when the sun came out, and I have heaps of washing to put out because I don't have a dryer in my house. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty busy evening for me. But thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. If you are new now and you like this video and you like my other videos, please subscribe to my channel. You know, it does matter to me. I like to see new subscribers, you know, and I like to see your comments, guys, as well. If you have any questions, leave the comment down below. If you want to share something with others as well, feel free to comment down below. You know, it's always interesting to read your comments, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.